I'm Alan Thornton and I'm an artist.
I'm Steve Waddingham and I'm the company historian for Aston Martin. I think, DB5 is probably one of the most recognised cars in the world. And as an Aston Martin, it's definitely a car that people instantly think of when they think of the mark. With DB5, it's actually a very simple shape.
Yeah.
Although when you look at it, it comes back at your eye as being a beautiful car and lots of things to look at. But if you actually break it down,
Yep.
it is a very simple shape and not a lot of ornaments on it really.
I think that the thing that struck me the most was the silhouette. I just did not have any understanding of the proportions of it until I actually did the research. And then you look at the side profile and I think it's more beautiful than I expected. But just the proportions are just incredible, really. I always start with a bit of research on a car. I mean, so far I haven't shot anything that I'm not familiar with in some way. But every time I come to a new car, there's things I see that I don't expect to have seen. And it's exactly the same with the DB5. So I use quite specialist studios. In this case, it was Calvert Studios, not far from here, actually. What I love about the process is it's sort of reminiscent of what the cars are about, mechanical things, the way they're made, the way they're sort of basically bits of metal formed into something else. They're quite simple things. And the halftone process is the same thing. It's a simple process of different sizes of dots. But what that gives us is the ability to use different colours working against each dot individually to sort of help create this feeling of depth of a print. And the way the light hits all these different elements helps to create the depth.
Yeah.
This process as well, I mean, it's been sort of being used more artistically for a long time. I mean, it really took off in the 60s with the likes of Andy Warhol using halftone. And it's just a beautiful process. It's something, I mean, the best way I can describe it, it's mechanical. I think it's a very mechanical process that becomes something quite beautiful in its own right. And I've always sort of floated around the periphery of cars, like in my sort of, when I was a photographer in the commercial world. But now coming at it from a sort of slightly more artistic perspective, using the halftone, diving back into the history of pop art, diving back into the history of cars, they all come from such a similar period.
Yeah.
So this particular piece is printed on Somerset satin paper. I'm a little bit of an obsessive when it comes to materials and the provenance of things, which I think comes back to my obsession with cars and brands like Aston Martin. It's that provenance and the attention to detail and where things come from.
So Alan, how did you capture the metallic paint in the way that you have? Because it's a very strange colour, silver birch. It's a very gentle metallic, but somehow you've got that into the artwork.
A lot of inks we use are metallic or pearlescent finishes, which again just totally ties into the subject matter with the car. We really are taking the essence of the car and the finishes of the car, but into a two-dimensional print. And then with the other sort of techniques involved in terms of a half-toning process, I think it's as close as you can get to taking a real three-dimensional car in the real world into something that is a print. As well as the conventional screen printing with inks, this process allows us to gild real metal leaf as well. And so there's another print I can show you later actually, because we've been working on Valkyrie as well. And in that case, we've created one-off prints. One is 24 karat gold detailing and the other is platinum leafing. Wow. So it just adds a whole different level of finish, luxury. Yeah. So a conventional photograph, millions of colours, lots of different things going on. But the silver birch is pure, the black is pure, this silver is pure. I mean, it's only these colours that are the only true colour in the whole image. I think where Aston Martin is right at this moment is an incredibly interesting time. And we got Valkyrie back in the studio a few months ago. And we've been working on that print, which has been a real pleasure actually, because it's only when photographing with cars and really dialing into it and seeing how the light plays on them and seeing the proportions, seeing how they're made, seeing the materials, there's just so much going on. And Valkyrie is an absolute work of art. I mean, it's just astonishing. It's one of the most amazing cars I've ever seen, to be honest.